إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الأول قبل الإنشاء والآخرة والإحياء والآخرة بعد فناء الأشياء العليم الذي لا ينسى من ذكر ولا ينكس من شكر ولا يخيب من دعا ولا يقطع رجاء من رجا اللهم إني أشهدك وكفى بك شهيدا وأشهد جميع ملائكتك وسكان سماواتك وحملة عرشك ومن بعثت من أنبيائك ورسلك وأنشأت من أصناف خلقك أني أشهد أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك ولا عديل ولا خلف لقولك ولا تبديل وأن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله عبدك ورسولك أدى ما حملته إلى عبادك وجاهد في الله عز وجل حق الجهاد وأنه بشر بما هو حق من الثواب وعند بما هو صدق من العقاب اللهم ثبتني على دينك ما أحييتني ولا تزغ قلبي بعد إذ هديتني وهب لي من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد واجعلني من أتباعه وشيعته واحشرني في زمرته ووفقني إلى فرض الجمعات وما أجبت علي فيها من الطاعات وقسمت لأهلها من العطاء في اليوم الجزاء إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're gathered here again on a blessed Friday on December the 8th. And we are in the Ayyam Fatimiyya. But as usual, we begin with the remembrance of Taqwa. And I remind myself, I remind all of you to have the Taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it is the only way we can assure that we are on the true path. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Araf, verse 26, O children of Adam, we have provided for you clothing to cover your bodies and your nakedness as an adornment. However, the best clothing for you is that of taqwa, of righteousness, of God awareness. So this verse is saying that being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all aspects, in all moments of our lives, is the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is what is the best thing to cover ourselves in completely, right? Because the clothing that we wear is to protect us. And the same basic principle goes for taqwa. Having the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is there to protect us from all the bad things in life, the sinning, the shaitan, and everything. So we are when we are in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we give no chance for the shaitan or evil thoughts, or being totally engrossed with materialism. And the clothing of taqwa will protect us from all those filthy things. And as we can see, what is happening today, that the sanctity of human life is being destroyed before our eyes. So we ask why? Why is this happening? And this is also basically happening because there's an absence of the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People don't have the taqwa. People are being taken over by evil, and they have lost all sense of humanity. Killing of human life is being seen as normal and being justified by the corporate media and corrupt politicians, blinded by a terrible evil. It is an absolute shame for all of humanity. So the point is that because of the lack of taqwa, because the lack of understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are seeing this destruction of humanity happening on our TV screens in Palestine. The next step, as we always do, is the remembrance of death, because the best way to increase our taqwa and remembrance of Allah is to remember death. It is a reality for all of us which we cannot ignore. As much as we want to ignore it or escape it, we cannot. Death is all around us. It is, we see the people dying left and right on the TV screens. It's for the children, the elderly, everybody. There's nobody who is exempt from death itself. And I'll give you an example. The example that I was thinking of when I was writing this is that example of a plane that takes off, right? A plane takes off from the runway, and as we are born, it is as if we have taken a flight and our plane has taken off. And we know that there's only two things that can happen when the plane takes off. Once it takes off and we're inside the airplane, is either it's going to reach its destination, it's going to land somewhere, wherever you're going, the destination is going to land, or it might crash and that'll be the end of it too, an abrupt end. And in this example of that, for life, the only difference is that in this example, we have no idea when or where our plane of life will land. But for sure, it's going to land. We know this for sure. But where and when, we have no idea. So we have to say our prayers before it's too late, right? I mean, when you're in the airplane, you're helpless. You say your prayers. You know that, okay, now I'm sitting here. There's nothing I can do anymore. And even there's jokes about if you want to make somebody who's an atheist, believe in God, then put them in the airplane. Then and after the turbulence, they start believing in God because they know now there's nothing else they can do. So, and Allah also says in the Quran about that in Surah 63, verse 10 and 11, Allah says, "And spend in the way of Allah from what we have provided you before death approaches one of you. And he says, My Lord, if only you would delay this for me for a brief term, so I would give charity and be among the righteous. But never will Allah delay a soul when its time has come, and Allah is acquainted with what you do." So 2 points from this, ayahs of the Quran, that Allah is reminding us about death. That one, that it cannot be delayed, right? That's we've accomplished this, this fact that death cannot be delayed even for a millisecond. And also, there's another point Allah is giving in this ayah, that those who give charity are among the righteous. So why somebody asking? And the importance of charity, again, as a side, of course, on Friday we should give as much charity as we could, possible, whatever is acceptable for you. But it's very important to give sadaqah, to give charity, especially on a day like Friday. But in this verse, it's the person who's asking to delay his death is because he realized I should give some charity. The importance of charity is so much that the person is asking Allah in his final moments that give me a little time so I can give charity, because whatever you have at that point is you're not going to take it with you. The one that you were trying to grab onto in your wallets, you're not going to keep it with you. You might as well have given it in charity before your last moment, so it counts something good for you. So definitely, we cannot delay death even for a second, and the best thing we can do is all the good deeds, the good amals before we die, and giving charity is one of those. And of course, that this place, as we are starting out, and as Brother Farhan can tell you, is we need those charities so that we can establish something good for the future and our future generations. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So today, my topic, of course, we are in the sad days of the Shahada of the daughter of the Prophet, Fatima alayhi salam, and so, and I think today, of course, there's a majlis there's going to be a majlis later on in the evening. Tomorrow? Is it? Today. Yeah, 7 p.m. today. So there's going to be a majlis by an Urdu majlis, for that matter. So we are in this days of sadness for the daughter of the Prophet. So I'm going to discuss some points about her life, as we can learn from her life for sure. And because she's of course the huge source of guidance for us. Firstly, she was the daughter of the Prophet. She was the reply and a rebuttal to all the disbelievers who mocked the Prophet for not having a son or someone who can carry his lineage. They used to call him Abtar, as a mockery, that he did not have a son, so his lineage is not going to be continued. And of course at that time it was a big deal for that society, the Arabs. They used to cherish sons, and they used to carry their lineage. There was a big deal, and they would make fun of the Prophet, and this was worrying the Prophet. So Allah sent a surah in the Quran, and we all know it's Surah Kauther, which basically says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna a'tainaka al-Kauther fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna sha'naka huwa al-abtar. So in translation, Allah, it says, verily we have blessed you with al-Kauther. And of course, al-Kauther for us, because we learned the Quran from the Ahl al-Bayt, we know that this is not just a river in paradise. It's also alluding to the Fatima Zehra, that she was the blessing that Allah is giving the Prophet. Just like a river in paradise will supply forever. What does a river do? What's the function of a river? It produces life. It's a source of life, water. And being a river in heaven, for sure, it'll produce life and give life to others, for sure. And the second thing, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْهَرْ, so offer prayer and sacrifice in the way of your Lord. Again, nobody knows sacrifice better than the family of the Prophet. Nobody knows sacrifice better than the daughter of the Prophet. For sure, these families sacrificed everything they could for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the third point is, Inna sha'naka huwa al-abtar, indeed your enemy is the one that will be cut off, will be the abtar. So Allah is directly replying to those people that were mocking the Prophet by saying that you the enemies, you will be the one that won't have a lineage. And we know after this surah the Prophet was gifted, Fatima alayhi salam was born, and she was the joy of his life, the coolness of his eyes, and the answer to the enemies of Islam. Fatima salamun alayha changed the whole dynamic of how daughters were treated in that time of ignorance, where the birth of a daughter was considered a shame and regarded as such a disaster for the father, that out of shame and ignorance he would go and bury his daughter, which is also mentioned in the Quran, that a day will come when those buried daughters will ask for what crime were they buried. And this also connects back that whatever happens today will come back on the day of resurrection, on the day of judgment, that all those who were oppressed will have a day of questioning from their oppressor. Why? For what crime did you oppress us? For what crime did you kill us? For why? And the oppressor will have to answer in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is we know it is on the day of judgment. So in any case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the Prophet with the daughter, his daughter, and she will carry his lineage, which is a living day miracle today, where we see the huge number of Sa'adat families with direct lineage to the holy Ahl al-Bayt. Right? I mean, this one daughter of the Prophet, and today we have the whole world full of Sadat and the Ahlul Bayt. It's just, this is a living miracle. We can see it, we can call this as a miracle, that how from one person, so much life is flourished and will continue to flourish from this one miraculous lady. The Prophet knew the miracle of Fatima and showed so much respect to her, where we read that he would stand up to greet her when she entered his presence, and this respect, of course, was observed by the people around him, his companions, in amazement, that why is the Prophet standing up for a little girl? They questioned this, that okay, the whole treatment of women, the Prophet was changing through how he dealt with his daughter, how he dealt with her presence, how he greeted her, how he respected her. Now the whole formula of what the people were, how they were treating women is being flipped on its head. That no, you must respect the woman, you must respect your daughter, you must, the Prophet is respecting his daughter, so what about you? What are you doing? So in this sense, Fatima revolutionized the treatment of women from that day on, so that women were respected and they had much more rights, much more dignity than ever before. Fatima also had tremendous respect for her father and took care of him so much that she earned the title Abiha, the mother of her father. She was brave and stood by her father, seeing and understanding the threats he was facing. She, of course, as being a miracle to him, there are so many things that I cannot do justice because of course, our very limited knowledge, but we'll try as we can. So not only is her father the last prophet of Islam, she's then married to the next best creation, which is Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then not only is she married to the next best creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she's the mother of the two Imams, right? Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. And of course, she's also the mother of the special personality for all of us, which is Bibi Zainab salamullah alayha. So, this lady has so much importance and so much miracles that it's beyond our scope. And then, if we study the life of this special holy family, and specifically the role of Fatima, how she raised her family with total taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all the sacrifices that she faced, and she dealt with all the tragedies that she went through. She's teaching her kids, because as we know, every one of them will go on to face tremendous tragedies in their lives, whether it's Imam Hassan and the tragedy that he faced, or whether it's Imam Hussein and the tragedy that he faced, or whether it's Bibi Zainab and the tragedies that she faced. So this mother is teaching her kids how to face those tragedies in the future by facing some of the tragedies herself, the tragedies that befell upon her. And we know what those are. And all for what? All for the sake of the mission of her father, for the sake of Islam. So it's a tremendous, thing to learn from her. If you study her life, the marifat from her traditions, it's a whole, chapter that we definitely will benefit from if anyone should study and examine her life. And one of the positive and most widely practiced tradition and true gift for all the Muslims that Allah bestowed through the sadaqah of Fatima salamullah alayha is the tasbeeh of Lady Fatima, which we all know, which we recite after every salah, and most of our brothers also recite it, even though they may not appreciate the history behind it as we do. Imam Kazim alayhi salam has said, whoever recites the tasbeeh of Lady Fatima and then asks for forgiveness, Allah will surely forgive him. And what is said on the tongue is 100 words, but on the scale of deeds they are accepted as 1,000, since it repels the shaitan and pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, for sure, the Tasbeeh of Fatima salam alayha is very special and has many rewards, many miraculous things about it that we don't even understand. And for sure, when you say it, and I've listened to some speeches about it, that you should say it slowly. One of the recommendations is not to speed through it, as sometimes we're doing after salah, but in your home or whenever you're doing it personally, you should say it, and internalize what you're saying, so you gain the full benefit of it. Say it slowly, and by internalize as you're saying what you are saying, because you're praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by your words, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah, and doing the zikr. It's very beneficial, and it's Sadqa Fatima Zehra. This is her gift for humanity that continues today and will continue till the Day of Judgment. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So Fatima alayhi salam was, she was not only the answer to the disbelievers in the early part of Islam and the Prophet's mission, but she was also the answer to the traitors or the corrupt companions who basically hijacked Islam after the Prophet. The bravery of Fatima became the foundation for the continuation of the mission of the Prophet and the Imamate after him. She knew the true nature and intentions of those trying to grab power and influence, and she stood up with resilience, and she stood up for the haqq, so that there is a record in history for what happened, and also so the narrative of the Ahlul Bayt is not forgotten, is not wiped out. So her efforts are preserved somewhere today, even though the other side may try as much as they can to cover it up, but they cannot. They don't have an answer for it. And we see that it was her stand for the land of Fadak that exposes and revealed so much about the evil nature of those who took the rulership, who grabbed the rulership, or who stole the rulership. They thought denying her the land of Fadak would weaken her and cause her to just abandon her mission or feel defeated. Yet it had the opposite effect. They in their ignorance thought that they could silence her, yet she skillfully silenced them with her protest. So now the other side cannot explain how the life of the dear daughter of the Prophet ended, or why was she denied her inheritance. All they can say is, look, it was a long time ago, let's not discuss it, or they have these other explanations which are, non-logical. They don't make sense, and they shy away from bringing it up at all, because they have no answers for it. She left so many questions for them unanswered that it reveals that there definitely was a problem. There definitely was an issue. Things were not just okay. Things were not okay. And there was definitely a problem. The fact that no one knows really where she's buried should raise question as to what could have happened that she was buried in secrecy, and that Imam Ali followed her instructions to be buried at night. And so the questions comes up, why at night? No one is buried at night. So why the daughter of the Prophet is being buried at night? This by itself, every action in her life raises a question and raises a concern as to what was happening at that time. And we see that Fatima Salamu alayha was not just an answer for the people of her time. She is still the answer for the people of this age, and anyone who in the future will inquire about the life of this miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She is for sure, she is the Lady of Light, the Lady of Heaven, the leader of all the ladies of ever created, whose nur was a guide for the angels who descended upon earth So for sure she was a special lady, and we must learn from her life. And of course we have there used to be a poster here, but I think it's in the other room. The Lady of Heaven, the film that was made a couple of years back, which reveals the tragedies that she faced and brings them to life, brings them to a screen that you can relate to. Then it opens your eyes. It's definitely worth watching, and anyone who has not watched that movie can still, I think it's offered on Amazon Video. You can still watch it. I mean, it's worth watching. So, in conclusion, I mean, I'm going to continue with this in the second part, but definitely there's a lot to be gained and learned from the Marfa of the daughter of the Prophet. And she's the source of inspiration. She's the source of guidance for our daughters and also for us. And also, we hope and pray that she'll be the source of shifa for us on the Day of Judgment. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So as you know, on this Friday we have to use the special hours to seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the doors of mercy are wide open. Brothers and sisters, the most truthful book is the book of Allah, and the best sunnah and guidance is the sunnah and guidance of the Prophet. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu as-salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Salam Muhammad wa Muhammad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا سيد شباب أهل الجنة إمام حسن وإمام الحسين السلام عليك يا أمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد وحسن بن علي وخلف الهادي المهدي عليه السلام اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. So brothers and sisters, as we were talking this Friday, definitely it's the days of sadness of the demise of the daughter of the Prophet, Lady Fatima Salamullahi alayha. And we discussed that she is the source of so much guidance and so much inspiration. And really we could use that today. Her bravery can be used by us as a source of inspiration. She revealed the evil intentions of the power grabbers, which is not a small task. As you can see today, how much time and effort is spent on hiding the truth, how much the corporate media and the politicians, how they craft and they spend so many millions of dollars to hide the truth. They go out of their way. They literally kill people who are telling the truth, and we see that by the number of journalists that have been killed in Gaza. I think the number is more than 50 journalists. Why are journalists killed? Why? Because they tell the truth. They are revealing the truth. And they are revealing the oppression that the oppressed is doing. And so they are killed. And who was the journalist that we have? Fatima alayhi salam was a journalist. Imam Hassan was a journalist. Imam Hussein was a journalist. All the Imams were journalists. They were revealing the truth. They are revealing the truth. They are exposing the oppressor. And by exposing the oppressor, they became automatically the enemy of the oppressor. And so they were killed one by one. Every one of them was killed or poisoned one way or the other by the ruler of that time, because these personalities were the truth. They revealed the truth, the haqq. They were the carriers of haqq. And that's what journalists do today, the good journalists, and that's the one that are killed. They are revealing the truth. And so we see that we can relate the example of what happened in the time of Fatima alayhi salam to what's happening today. She did not need the land of Fadak at all, right? There is no need for her to have Fadak, but she stood up for that land to expose the power grabbers of her time, so that she can expose their reality. And just like today, what is the Zionist regime doing? They're trying to grab the land of the Palestinian people. But in return, what is happening is they're revealing their true evil nature and their evil plans. Yeah, again, so Fatima was not in need of the land, but she wanted to showcase the evil intentions of Abu Bakr and the corrupt companions and all the corrupt companions that were with him at that time. And she was able to accomplish that because she stood up. She went to the court and she asked for her right. The point was not whether she's going to get it or not. This was, it's irrelevant really. But by her actions, by her struggle, she was able to expose the ruling authority of that time, that what they were doing is wrong. They are depriving the daughter of the Prophet, the last messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reason why the earth is created and the heavens were created. His daughter is being denied, and by who? By somebody who thinks they know Islam. They were definitely mistaken. And she showed that. She was able to prove her case, maybe not to him or them, but for generations to come. She was able to prove her case for who was on the truth and who was on the wrong side of history. And again, the lack of taqwa, the lack of the fear of God, causes man to take such horrendous evil actions as we see today. The lack of humanity that we're seeing all over today. What is the basic cause of it? The lack of taqwa. And of course, I urge you guys to listen to the podcast of Brother Farhan, as he's doing such a tremendous job in trying to explain the reasons of the situation that we're in today. The breaking of the covenant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, as Muslims, we were told in traditions too that we also will do the same thing as the Jewish people, as the people of Musa alayhi salam. Just like they broke their covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Muslims also broke their covenants after the day of Ghadir and oppressed the family of the Prophet, and continues to oppress them because the majority of them don't follow them. So this is a source of one of the reasons for the plight of humanity, the plight of the Muslims that we have. And we have to also learn from Fatima how to protest, right? It is a must that we claim, if we claim to be the followers of Lady Fatima, that we stand up for humanity. We stand up for the Muslims in Gaza. We stand up. We say something. It just cannot be that we just watch and say and shake our heads and say, "Oh, how sad." This is not this is not what Allah is asking from us, that we do this only. There must be something we can do. There must be some protest we can go to, some action we can take, call some senators, do whatever, but don't lose hope, because as this war is continuing over there. I know that people are beginning to shut it down in their minds and say, look, we cannot. It's beyond our capacity, and they're looking away. But don't do that. Don't do that. Keep your efforts. Keep your protest going. Just like Lady Fatima, she did not give up. She did not give up. She, till the last moment, every minute of her life was a protest. Every last minute of her life was a protest, and she made sure that in the future, we can learn from her protest. So don't ever give up your protest for the haqq. And we must continuously call for the return of our Imam al-Zaman, to come lead us out of this misery. So on this Friday, let's raise our hands and make some dua for the people of Gaza. Say, Ya Allah, save the people of Gaza, save the children of Gaza, save the mothers and fathers of Gaza, save the grandparents of Gaza. Ya Allah, accept their duas, accept the duas of the crying children of Gaza. And Allah, send your immediate azab on the Zionist Zalimeen, and send your immediate azab on the supporters of the Zionists of Zalimeen. And Ya Allah, free the Hijaz from the Zalimeen as well. And Allah, guide our children to the true path, the path of Fatima Zehra Salamullah alayha, and let us learn from her example, and allow her to be our shifa, the source of shifa on the Day of Judgment. Ameen. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. كما الصلاة.